Hello, friends. Naya Swami Hriman here, and this is the week leading up to Palm Sunday in anticipation of Easter Sunday. I'd like to talk about Palm Sunday and its meaning for us, at least in one particular respect. Was Jesus a king, as they said on that Sunday, or later in the week on Good Friday, was he a criminal? Well, we don't easily make up our minds. I wanted to talk about the tendency for Americans, I think especially, and in an age of fast-paced changes, perhaps, as a support for that fickleness that I see in the American character. You know, we change jobs, we change relationships, we change gurus, spiritual paths, where we live, what we want to do. We are so enticed by the new and the newfangled that we have become rather fickle with all the opportunities and all the gadgets. And you go into a drugstore, and if you want to pick out toothpaste or hair shampoo or whatever it is, there's an ungodly number of choices. So what is this fickleness? We do this with people too, you know. One day somebody's tall in our perceptions, up on the, high esteem, all that sort of thing. And the next day or in a few weeks, we trash them. You know, we look at the history of great people like George Washington, and we come up with trivial complaints. Yogananda himself, though a great soul and adored and praised by thousands, nonetheless, only a handful really, people actually came and followed him. So we don't really want to be that way. When I was in college, I remember having the good fortune to realize that my strongly held opinions, mostly about trivia, were apt to change from week to week based on the discovery of new facts. And so pretty early in my life, I realized that this tendency to be fickle was not very helpful. I instinctively, perhaps on some level, wanted to know not just truth, but how to get there, and was willing to commit myself to it. Not at first, mind you. Like many of you and others, I had to explore a few things and build my trust towards the path I had been attracted to really see that it works. Yogananda put it, as he often did, very directly, almost bluntly, at least relative to the fickleness of our age. He said, "Loyalty is the first law of God." Having come of age during the tumult of the 1960s, especially in California where I lived, and in the Bay Area where I went to college, loyalty was the last thing on our minds. The founding of Ananda village in the late 60s, in the back to the land anti-establishment movement of the hippies of that day, the last thing possibly considered as a virtue would be loyalty. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that. Many people just have that instinctive refinement of character. But nonetheless, you know, we were into breaking the mold, breaking away from tradition. And so it was, we had things like free love, which is neither free nor love. But, you know, we experimented with all sorts of things in our happiness to break the rules, you might say. So this idea that loyalty is necessary to fulfill and be successful in career, to have the steady habits of good diet and exercise, to develop a healthy and meaningful relationship, and to dive deep in a true spiritual path in order to discover oneself. These take that kind of steady stick-to-itiveness that is more characteristic of former ages and cultures, and not so much characteristic of our culture presently. but the need for that virtue exists no matter what. The truth of it is eternal. And so when we think of Palm Sunday and we think how Jesus was hailed, Hosanna to the highest, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, and then, but days later, crucify him, let's catch ourselves with our own inclinations, supported by our lifestyle and our culture and the consciousness of particularly American culture, against tendencies to be fickle. And so it is. I think of a few of us here are studying the letters of Sister Gyanamata, one of Yogananda's advanced disciples, who was very, very wise. And her letters have a consistent theme in them, and that consistency is not to give up, to keep going, not to be attached to the fruits of your meditations or your efforts to be virtuous and good, not to compare yourself with others, but steady as she goes. And I admit that trait is not predominant in our age right now, but it is forever valuable and necessary for success and happiness in any pursuit of our lives. May you have a blessed Palm Sunday.